What's up, everybody? It's Chase with Chaesar Videos. I just want to say thank you for checking out this video. Before every episode, I like to show a little sample of the artist's work to show context on who they are. If you want to skip this and just start the interview, that starts right here, 1:30. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any suggestions, comments, reactions to the video, put it in the comments. Thank you so much for your support. Follow the artists. Follow my channel if you like it for more content like this. Thank you so much for letting me do this. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning back in. Right now, I'm in Columbus, Ohio for last or possibly second to last shoot. I'm here with RAPHAEL Hayes.
Hello.
My best friend from high school. We go way back. Yeah. Raph, why don't you introduce you a little about yourself, where we're at, everything you're doing.
Shoot. My name is RAPHAEL. I don't know. I guess from my school. I've been doing art for a while, so I decided to do it in college as well and try to make a career out of it. So we're here at the school, like, it's in one of the buildings. I think it's just Crane, just looking around.
The building's Crane?
Yeah.
We're at CCAD, Columbus.
Columbus
I always forget. I always want to say Columbus School for Art and Design, but I'm like, that acronym does not work.
Yeah.
So how long have you been going here?
This is my senior year, so I've been here for... What year is it? Yeah, wait, I'm here for 4 years now, but it's 2023, so I'm not even like, this is like 2 days in. So I guess.
You started coming here 2019?
Yeah.
So 4 years.
But it's we're at 2 days into the next year.
Oh,
so
yeah. It still counts if you're on your senior year, you're on your fourth year, I think.
That's true. I'll be here for 5 years, though. Ooh, I'll be here for 5 years, though. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I want to give a background for who you are, for everybody watching. Can you talk a little bit about what got you into art?
Shoot. A couple of people probably. First off, my brother Josh. He used to draw comics and stuff when I was younger, so I would watch him draw and want to draw too. So I would take his. I actually lost some of his comics and some of the drawings he had to do for class. He got super pissed, but it was okay. Him, and then my teacher, Miss Marshall at Tree. She's the one who got me to go to the Career Center, Fort Hays, which is down the street. Yeah. She did a lot for me actually. She had I don't know, she was a blessing in my life as far as people around me. But yeah.
Was she an art teacher there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I never took any art classes there. I always wished I did. It would have been fun. I took computer ones, photography, videography ones. That was fun.
Mr. Sherrod.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Sherrod's cool.
I learned a lot from those classes. A lot that I use to this day. It sort of got me just started. I hope you guys can all notice that we have the 2 camera setup right now. I rented a Panasonic GH5, which I'm very excited about. So I hope that you guys can enjoy this. And yeah, me and Raph go way back. He was one of the first people I ever met when I moved to Columbus when I was 13. He started off saying,
I know your dad.
Yeah.
That was during soccer. Oh my goodness. Yo. I think what was it? It was was it the first practice? I feel
It was an open field. It wasn't even a practice.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know anybody, and I was just there, and all of a sudden you come up to me and you're just your eyes wide open. You're like, I know your dad.
Yo, and I have no clue why because someone had told us that you were coming to like play soccer. Like you were like the principal's son was coming.
Yeah.
I was like, it's gotta be him. So I was like, I know your dad.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, I went to a school here in Columbus. My dad was the principal, so I moved from small town. I lived outside of a small town called Cedarville, which if you don't know where that is, and you're from Ohio, that was outside of a small town called Xenia, which is outside of a bigger town / small city, Dayton. So yeah.
My dad's from Dayton, or no, he's from Dayton.
I was born there, but I don't remember living in Dayton at all. Yeah. Okay. So before this, Raphael walked me through a whole lot of his art pieces that he's working on right now. Can you tell me a little bit about what's going into those art pieces when you're making them?
Shoot, like material wise, or like thought process.
We'll start off with, I want to hear your thought process for making it, and then we can get into specific works, which you saw some of them at the start, and you'll see them as we talk about them through here.
Cool. Okay. So like in making art, it's changed a lot from freshman year. Because at that point, I really had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to be here. So I was just kind of like, at that point, I was listening to my teachers heavily.
Yeah.
So like I was just there kind of trying to get the stuff done to get grades rather than like explore why I liked being an artist and like what I wanted to make as an artist. So, but past that, I guess at that point, I was leaning more towards making or using fabric, and that came, I think that was junior year actually, where when COVID had first started, I was at home. We had to do a semester-long project. And I wanted to do that piece of my dad. Actually.
Yeah.
So I started using fabric. I had bought it prior to like everything like shutting down and everything. And then it just sat there for like, I don't know how long, but it just sat there while I was working.
What, all of it
stuff.
did, or just like had you what, the idea and like the material just sat there, or had you started making it?
I didn't have the idea. I just bought the material.
Oh.
So I knew I wanted to do something with fabric. And the picture of my dad, but I had zero idea how it was supposed to look.
Yeah.
So I just bought the stuff, and at the beginning of the semester. So like throughout, and this is semester long, so you're supposed to work on this the entire time. And I didn't start till like, I think it was like 2 weeks prior to the end of the year. And I was like, all right, we gotta start. There's not a timeline.
Yeah.
So I start, I'm cutting up the fabric and everything. And with this piece, I got to do it right in front of him. So like we were downstairs because everybody's home. So I was about to do it downstairs because I needed space to work. So making a piece about someone right in front of them was pretty crazy because it was like, he had really no idea what was going on either.
Yeah.
But that informed a lot of my work now. Yeah, because right now I'm working on like more weaving things, using like wood as a material.
Yeah.
Which I used for the first time in high school. That was with Miss Marshall actually. Oh no, it wasn't. That was with Miss Calhoun. She
yeah.
Miss Calhoun's cool, but she gave us some material to make lanterns, and I wanted to like try to mix those two materials together. So, but yeah, that was that.
I'm trying to remember if I ever saw or you ever showed me the lantern. I must have seen it.
Probably. Yeah, I definitely showed everybody at school, but it's broken now. Yeah, it's like I have the bamboo from it just sitting in my room.
Was it green, or am I thinking of something else?
It had green on it for sure. But
that's a suppressed memory that's gonna come out in like 2 days after I record. I'm like, that's what it looked like.
It's coming out from night sweat.
Night sweat.
Yeah.
Why am I having a nightmare about it?
I don't know. Shoot, that'd be kind of cool though. I'm gonna be standing over you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you said when you came in freshman year, you were kind of just going along, like doing what the teacher said. You were just getting the grades. When did the change happen to where right now every piece you're making, you're investing heavily into it, and you know?
That was before junior year started. At that point in time, I was like, I don't know what happened, but that summer I smoked so much weed. and I was in my car just thinking. I had never thought so much in my entire life.
Yeah.
Until that point. So I was just, it was like I want to call it a metamorphosis kind of situation, but it's not that. It wasn't that deep. Like, but I was like, at that point in time, I was thinking about wanting to like do this full time and how would I actually do this, and what it would take to do this, and if I really cared about making art as much as I do. And then at that point, I was sitting in my car and I saw these mushrooms growing under a tree.
Oh, yeah.
And then I took some pictures of them. And then I decided to try to paint them.
Yeah.
And I was like videotaping my process of painting them, trying to track hours and stuff. And that kind of made it real for me at that point in time where I was like, you could actually like take this seriously as far as like, this doesn't have to be something you just enjoy doing.
Yeah.
It can be something you do because you care about it. And like it makes your life not have meaning, but it helps you to understand the meaning of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those, the pictures of the mushrooms you showed me and everything. Yeah. And I think when you showed me it, you were maybe only like a third or halfway done with the drawing. Yeah, I remember that was cool. So what would you say right now is your main project then?
Man, like, so like when I think about like my stuff, I think about it in terms of like series. So like, what do you mean by main project? Like,
can explain what you mean by like series?
So like the piece of my dad and other works similar to that would be a series to me.
Oh.
And like the things that I'm making now would be a series to me.
Yeah.
So like, I like to separate them because like I make a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I don't keep them separate, for viewers' sake and for my own sake, mentally it would be confusing. I think to think of it like if I were to have a show and like have everything there, I wouldn't want to have something from one series with another series because these mean different things.
Yeah,
like,
that makes
have
sense.
Different subjects. But I guess like right now the main series I'm working on is I'm trying to like take because. Actually, more recently, so I went over the summer. I went to a residency that was at Yale, Norfolk, in Connecticut. And at that time, it started before going there, but like more in depth in that period, I came into like a much more fruitful relationship with Jesus at that point in time. Like I had no idea what I was really doing while I was there too, because I had been working on something. And I was like, I don't like this. I'm not having a good time. Yeah. So I stopped everything and just started asking for help rather than like trying to like force things to exist. So I was doing that, taking a lot of time outside, just trying to be in nature because like his creation. Yeah. Trying to take in what he made for us so I could make something in remembrance of that sort of. And like with also like, and stumbling with also a little bit of like myself in the piece as well because like these are the materials that I was given but also things that I love using. Yeah. So at that point in time is when I mixed the wood reed from the basket making and like the lantern and stuff with fabric from these other pieces. Yeah. Because like when the way I think about it is like the fabric is where the personality comes from. Like it's where you get emotion and like the feeling of like comfort or any type of personal feeling, and then like the structure, everything that holds it up, gives it like weight. You know, it comes from the wood reed and paper mache and those other materials. Even those are super light, light materials. They work together to like kind of create a personality, in a sense. Like, and those came out to be like more calm and still and like present, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. And then since making those, I kind of tried to bring that same thing back and look at more stories from the gospel while also trying to learn for personal sake, like, so I can like help my life to not look right, but like fall in line. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't know. When I like actually understood the gospel, and like took the time to like look into it and like understand what it was, what he was offering, like that gift, it makes it mean a lot more. Like, cause like you're safe, like you're safe now. Everything else is like, everything else doesn't matter to a degree. Like it's like it matters, but it's not like that's the thing that matters before everything else matters. And once you have that thing that matters, you're like, okay, now I can do everything else differently. Like I can actually like understand why I'm doing the things I'm doing, like how this pertains to like my life and other people's lives. So like making these pieces now, it feels a lot different versus like making the pieces of my family, because like I knew those pertained to my life, but I didn't know how I pertained to those pieces, or like how the outside world or something outside of myself and my circle pertained to those pieces. Because like I think about time and things existing before I exist. So like I look at like our generation and people, and I think we like, not that it's like we're doing it on purpose, but like it's just, I think it's just how we've kind of come to be. But it's like we live life as if it started when we were born.
Yeah.
And not as if this thing has been going on for a long time before we
Yeah.
got here. And I'm trying not to do that anymore, because like there is a foundation that's like been built by mistakes, not mistakes, but like pain.
Yeah.
And goodness, like all around. So like if you can look at both of those objectively and like see that this is like you're now either adding to it or in a good way or adding to it in a bad way. And that's even from a non like saved by the gospel part. That's like as a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm getting off.
No, not at all.
Yeah. It's cool. Like these, the most recent piece I showed you with like the path.
Yep.
With Jesus walking on the water, waiting, and then Peter walking to him.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing for me, because when I think about like how I was saved, like how he did it in my life, like for me, that's a huge moment. Because like that was the moment that Peter knew that like, and all the other disciples knew that he was who he said he was. He wasn't just some guy who was preaching like freedom to people. It was more than that. It was like abundant life. It was freedom from like death, like the grips. Like another piece I'm about to work on soon is a piece about oppression. Like, because I think everybody goes through that to a degree. Everybody, whether it's like instilled by society or it's instilled by your own mind, your family, or whatever. We can all like put ourselves into that.
Yeah, it comes in a lot of different forms.
Yeah, exactly. So the piece will be like, it will try to show the weight, like the overbearing force that either we put onto ourselves or society puts onto each person, like that exists in oppression. Because it's like it's a whole. It encompasses more than just like. I think there's like it encompasses more than just the basic idea of oppression. It's not just someone else hurting you. It's not just someone else taking things from you. Because you can oppress yourself. You can oppress yourself. The world can oppress you. Family can oppress you. Anything can like even like an addiction can be an oppression.
Yeah.
And you know these anything small, anything large, it still has a will of oppression.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to encompass that into a piece next. But yeah. Some thoughts.
Can you? I don't know how much with that you've planned or started. Can you talk a little bit about how you're going to show that, or do you? I know. Always questions like those. It's always like, how much does someone say? How much does someone keep to themselves before it's like ready? So.
No, you're fine. Shoot, I mean, if you're gonna look, if I can say this stuff and then make a piece that says what I'm saying, then that's even cooler than if I keep it all to myself first. I feel like.
Yeah.
But, so. I have a little drawing, but it's not like how I envision it yet. Like I get a picture in my head.
Yeah, it's just like a draft.
Yeah, it's like a small like I see something small in my head, and I like try to get it to that point as I make. Sometimes it doesn't always get there. Sometimes it does closer. I haven't gotten to like perfect, but like that's okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem if things change.
Yeah, but with this piece, I'm thinking about similar to that path. in the last piece I showed you. It'll be thinking of vertical rectangle, like how you were talking. Like you kind of described it for me earlier.
Yeah.
It was like it feels more powerful or more like a force.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going with a rectangle again for the shape of the shape, and then it'll be vertical, and it'll be a path from middle down to like rule of thirds. Like
starting at the middle?
Nah, it'll start at the top.
Yeah.
It'll be in the center. And it'll come down probably to the bottom third and stop right there. So like each person will put themselves at the bottom of that line.
Yeah.
Right. And around the line, around the person, including top third, middle third, and bottom third, around. So like there'll be dark fabric. It'll just be dark. I'll use I'm thinking about dark purples and black.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a little bit of like variation of color. I want to find different colors of black, because I was looking at this dude named Mark Bradford. He's an artist as well. It's not him. It's someone else. It's okay. But he uses different colors of black to represent black skin. Because he was talking about how there's an idea that black is the absence of color, but there's still different qualities of black, or like tones of black. So it really isn't the absence of color in that sense.
Yeah.
But I want this piece to kind of symbolize that weight all around, the pressure on all sides, and then the path where you're standing, it'll be right there, and you're looking straight, and you can see like a light just straight piercing through the path, and that light is meant to represent the gospel, is Jesus. And it's kind of like freedom from the oppression, like all kinds of oppression, oppression of life, oppression of death, oppression of what is the word for like people telling you have to be a certain way? What is that?
Expectations?
Yeah, expectations. Like the gospel to me, and in general, is freedom. Like it's like you are not perfect, and you in this life will never be perfect, and that is a fact. It's always going to be a fact. And then the gospel says, yes, I acknowledge that you are that way, and I have died for you because you're not that way. Yeah. Because you couldn't be that way on your own. And I want to represent that into a piece that's like that light piercing darkness. Like that's like, because like when I think of because I've been through like with like drugs and stuff, feeling like I couldn't stop even though I wanted to, like with alcohol and with weed, whatever. Like you may not say it's that bad, but it's like it depends on how you're using it, and I think it depends on why you're using it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, but I was with that. I remember just like wanting to stop, and like no matter how bad I wanted to, I would try to, and there'd be like little stints, and then I'd end up with it again, not knowing how I got back there. Yeah. Just being like, man, I really hate doing this. Yeah. Like generally just speaking to myself, like in my car when I was saying I was talking in my car all the time. It'd be conversations like that where I would like smoke or drink or whatever and just sit there. Like I wasn't driving anywhere, but I was sitting outside my house. But I was just there, and I was just like, I don't really like doing this. Yeah. I don't really feel good doing this, but I feel like I have to. I feel like, this is what you do. There's nothing else you really do. You're bored. There's nothing else to do. And it was just constantly the reminder of like, that was an oppressive feeling. I didn't want to feel that way, but I felt like I had to. Yeah. I feel like something else was making me feel that way. Like I'm still contributing to it. There's no doubt about that. But it's like, it feels like it's like a joint effort in that sense, where it's like, because you're so weak, you cannot say no to whatever is telling you not to say, like whatever is telling you to say yes. Yeah. And this is like trying to symbolize that piercing light that's like, I don't know, because when I think of darkness, I think of it in a different way. I think where it's like the darkness exists, but how bright is that light when it's surrounded by darkness? Like how visible is that light when it's surrounded by darkness? It's so much easier to see. I'm trying to represent that in this piece, I think. If that answers the question. Yeah.
So my thought, hearing that, is from the people who are going to be listening to this, my audience, the audience who has tuned in so far, who's checking this out, there's gonna be a big range of people. There's gonna be people who have never like experienced any type of religion, people who are like every type of worldview. So there's gonna be people who are hearing what you're saying and aren't really like getting what you're saying. Could you explain a bit about like what your worldview means to you and like what you being a Christian means to you? And like how it affects your life and your art and everything?
Yeah. I think I should start beforehand.
Yeah.
Like before, before.
Yeah, it's like that kind of is also with the question of like when you're talking about you feeling oppressed by yourself, by like addiction, by I'm assuming like mental health, which always like goes hand in hand with addiction.
Yeah.
And we've had conversations like that before about mental health. How did that play a factor? Like, what type of stuff have you gone through? You know, that because when you're talking about this like light that you have, like, what is that, and what is like the darkness?
Shoot. A lot of that darkness I think started in my life when I was super young. That was when my dad had a stroke.
Yeah.
Because when that happens, and being the youngest, you are neglected. Not intentionally, and I don't think people think of it that way.
Yeah.
Or I even thought of it that way for a while, that it was just like, this is just how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But when that happens, and you're neglected, you're growing up on your own. Like, whether you have family around you, like, because I'm super quiet at home. I barely speak.
Yeah.
Recently, it's been different because I feel like these are I can now.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, it was just like I was watching everything go on, and then I would go to my room and just kind of exist there and just be alone.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a darkness for me. I didn't know at the time that it was that, because I was a kid. But I think growing and then seeing other people, going to school, you know, being with everyone at school. I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, I remember crying in my room and then in the hallway asking for help because school felt like too much.
Yeah.
Like, even school can like be a thing, but it's like I remember praying and asking for help because school felt like too much.
Yeah.
I think I was like 10 or 11 or something around that age, but it was just like, even like stuff like that is where I found that light. Like, I knew that there was an answer somewhere to the issue that I was dealing with, and it wasn't inside of me.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't fathom or come up with the answer myself. And I think that's a lot of problems that we have. Anyone, it doesn't matter if you're Christian, whatever, like, problems that exist in your life can be caused by you, yes, but the answer is not usually within yourself. Like, I think people look inside to try to find answers for issues that they're dealing with, when that isn't really where the answer is usually found with a lot of things. Like, if I'm having an issue with you, like if we're friends and we're like fighting, I don't look inside to find why we're fighting. I go talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, we don't find the problem, like we don't find a solution for answers inside. I think that's part of the piece too. It's like, that light isn't coming from you. It's coming from there, type of thing. But your question was like, ask it again. I feel like I get off topic.
So, well, I kind of changed it because a lot of the times when I ask questions, it's real like convoluted.
What does that mean?
I'd probably take like half the blame for that. Like my questions don't make sense a lot of the time.
Oh.
I can't tell you how many times doing these interviews when somebody's like, "What?" Because I'll start with a question and then I'll turn into another question and that will turn into another question and then I'll have forgotten the question I really asked. But where I led into it was for the people watching and stuff, people who have not experienced what you've experienced with like your faith and like your beliefs as a Christian. Like, how could you sort of like explain that to them? Okay. Like, explain like, yeah, just sort of for somebody who doesn't know much about That.
So, I guess I should just explain the gospel. I feel like that's the easiest thing because that's like the truest thing for me, and in general. So like when I was like broken, I thought about my mom first, because she is the strongest woman of faith I've ever met in my entire life. Like the way she talks to God, the way she talks to Jesus, is just like they're best friends, and that she knows that she can rely on him for every single issue she deals with. Like there'd be times when I was growing up where she would have music blaring, and I hated it. It was so annoying. Like she'd just have gospel music blaring, and I was just like, "Yo, cut it off." In my head, I was just like, "Yo, this sucks.
That is foul."
Think. Yo, it was like, I know that's such an awful thing to like think, but I was just like, "Yo, this sucks. Bro, I hate this. Turn it off." But I was like, because I think I was playing Pop Rocket too, so I was just like, "Yeah, I'm trying to play. Turn it off." But yeah, so like, as a kid, I hated it. But now I'm like in the heat of an issue, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I thought about my mom. What did she do? She would bring it all to the feet of Jesus because he already took care of it for the whole world. So like he was born and then died on the cross as a ransom for all of our sin, for all of our shame, for all of our guilt, for all of our unholiness. Like, as people created by God, because think about it. Think of like the holiest being you could ever think of. Think of someone who created everything specifically for a purpose, for a reason to be a certain way, and then think of like the picture of perfectness, and then think of you tarnishing it, like even in the slightest way. How sucky would you feel? Like, it's like, dang, you had it perfect.
Yeah.
No, it's not like that. It's like, oh my goodness, I have ruined everything. I'm so sorry. And that was kind of how I was feeling, and I was like, geez, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I was in my car. A lot of things happened in my car, like for me. And I was just in there, I was sitting, I was bawling my eyes out.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the Bible. What does it have to say there? So I went, and I read, and I prayed, and asked for help. And he gave me so much peace in that moment that I had not felt in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like the calm, like my ears. It wasn't like there was sound entering into my ears. It was just like I was sitting there, just kind of like you just take a breath. Like I felt like I was holding my breath my entire life until that moment where I was just like, okay,
yeah,
you're here. I'm here. You're here with me. You see everything that's happened. You see everything that's going on. You know what I've been going through. And I'm still here. And you said you'd help. And you are. Like, and that was my first, like, on my own moment of, like, this is the characteristics of Christ.
Yeah.
Like that peace. And, like, that he brings it to you. Like, you can't create it. So like him dying on the cross so that I could be free, like not in the grips of oppression. Like, I don't know. Yeah, but.
Okay. So then my question for you is, how is something like that, what you believe, what you experience? Oh, you know what? Before I ask the question, I think my camera battery died. We're back. Sorry for that. Had to change some batteries, memory cards. Always having issues with everything. Sad, because it's a good one. So, the question I was going to ask Raph was, with everything that you've talked about your faith and everything like that, everything you experienced, all the realizations you've had, where does you expressing that through your art come into play? Like, how do you express it through your art?
I think it's expressed through the art in the material use as well as like in the structure itself. I was talking to my mom and her friend yesterday about the grid, which is something I use in art a lot. In the back of my pieces, even when I draw, I use a grid to start just to keep everything in order. I have a craving for order. Like, I love order. I think it looks beautiful. I think when you can find it and like create it in a piece or like in life, like outside, finding order is cool. Like patterns are cool. That stuff is amazing to me. Because there's infinite types of patterns and order and grids you can make and experience. So in my piece, as pieces, I use like the grid and then the color to represent. Like the grid represents like the canvas type of thing. Yeah. So like when God made the world, the earth would be the grid for me. It's the canvas, and then everything else that goes on would be color, like people, trees, whatever. So like everything that goes onto the grid represents like the interaction that I'm taking in. So like with Peter and Jesus on the sea, the color represents Peter and Jesus, and then everything else around is things that pertain to the grid, like the creation. So like with my faith and all of this in that, I think for me to be able to like take those moments and kind of create like a visual for them is important to me. And like, I don't know, it's hard to explain like how. I think it's like, that's a good question. That's a hard question, I think.
Yeah. How do you use specific materials for that? How do you show stuff through different materials? Because you work with a lot of stuff. You've worked with just some background here. Raphael, you've made jewelry, pottery, a lot of fabric work, painting. What am I missing? The weaving, you said? Yeah. So like more sculpture type stuff with a whole bunch of different materials. How do you use different mediums and materials to convey different like things?
I think with these new pieces, with a new like line of questioning, I guess, or like line of showing, I'm trying to use like light materials, like things that can diffuse light. So like I was talking about earlier, with light being one of the materials I'm using now. With
the Peter one, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna show them that right now. Sure. I'll pull it up for you. Yeah, could you talk about this, like everything diffusing light, all this? Let's see, right there. So like you can like walk them through it because they'll be seeing it.
So, let me show you too. I can show you what you showed me.
Yeah.
A little bit easier. So like these are the pieces I made while I was at Yale. So
yeah, we're seeing these.
Yeah, when I think about like using light as a material, you have to like, whatever you're using in the structure and the form, you have to make it have an element of like, not see-throughness, but like not opaque. It can't be opaque. Like there has to be an ability for light to show through, or for light to like be brought through it.
Yeah.
So for these new pieces I'm making, I have to use tissue paper, wood reed, fabric, because like all these materials have a quality, except for the wood. The wood creates like shadows and creates tension and creates structure. Yeah. But like the other materials create a way to change the way that a light looks, like change the way that the light is perceived, change the way it's like experienced. So like with the piece, I love using light because light is also a common theme in the Bible, described to represent figures in there and people. So like with the yellow, in this piece, in the blue piece, and in this recent piece, I use the yellow to represent Jesus. I think I will consistently throughout each piece I make. I don't know why, but he kind of feels like the sun to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like warm, constant. whether you see him or not, he is still having an effect. Like with it being on the other side of the world,
Yeah.
you still see it reflected off of other surfaces,
Huh.
like the moon. You
Yeah.
still see it giving off its light, so that you can still perceive and feel his effect. So like with that, I wanted to do that. And that same color is also seen in the piece that represents the Father, because he is the Father of the Son. So like with him being a similar color, I've added a second color on top of the color that represents the Father and Jesus to like give him a different difference, to like separate.
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
with them
yeah.
all being three, like in the Trinity, they're all separate like persons,
Yeah.
but not a separate being. You know what I mean? Like they all make up God, but they're all separate. They have different characteristics. They have different. They think differently, but they all think together to like get things done.
And you said that you put the other shade of yellow on top of it. Oh, so you can see that now. I'll put that up on the screen. That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I do all this to like. I think fabric does a good job at representing people. So like with the pieces I was making before I started making these, I was also using fabric to represent a feeling and like emotion through pattern and variation of color. So in those, I took that same element from those pieces and tried to bring them into these new pieces, but in a different way, because I scaled it back. So like the pieces I was making before, to me, kind of resembled chaos rather than order. So when I think of God, and when I think of Jesus and the Holy Spirit, I don't think of chaos. I think of order. So how would you show order while still having variation of color, while still having variation of object, of material? So I think that's what kind of brought these materials together, was their ability to like influence and like work together well without distracting from each other. So like if one thing needs to stand forward more, it will. But if something else needs to stand forward more, it will as well.
Yeah.
But they're all always working together. They're not separate things, but they are separate things. Like wood reed, fabric, paper mache, these are all different materials. But in this piece, they all work together to bring an experience to someone. Same with the Holy Spirit, God, and Jesus. They're all separate. They're all separate beings. Like they're all one. I described it a while ago. I was thinking about it like I'm making a piece about time. So with that piece, it's kind of me trying to understand the Trinity. So time, there's three aspects: past, present, future.
Yeah.
All three of these aspects make up one thing that is called time, but they all do different things with time, within time. So like the past is where we live, it's where we operate, but the present, the present is where we operate, where we get things done, where we do things. But the past influences everything that we do and always exists and always has a foothold kind of on everything that happens. And the future is where all our hopes lie, where we are always going. You're always in the future, you're always in the present, and you're always in the past at once. But all these things are separate things always. Like you cannot combine two, but you can use what happened in one to influence what happened in the other. You can use aspects of the past to influence the future.
Yeah.
Or the present, and make different decisions. Like, so I think when I think about like the Trinity, I think the easiest way for me to understand it is like, because time is one thing, but three things at the same time, God can also be one thing and three things at the same time. Like, even if I didn't understand that, that's okay. It's like, I'm a human being. I'm not going to understand everything. It's like, that's okay. But, so with these pieces, they're also three things. They all work together to make one thing. And I think that's an important theme for me in work, is trying to like replicate that same structure, that same framework, because like it's a perfect framework. Like he used it, so clearly it was the right thing to do. Like it was a perfect framework. So if I can also work in that same mindset of using these three things to create this one thing, and then all these three things can also work. Like they can be strong individually, but when you bring them together, they're like infinitely more powerful.
Yeah.
Like and with art standpoint, there's infinitely more capabilities, more possibilities. Like when you're working like with one material, let's say like wood reed, you can make bones, you can make the structure for everything, but you can't give it life you can't bring feeling, you can't bring personality to it.
Yeah.
But when you work with paper mache and wood reed, you cannot bring like personality. You can bring life, you can bring warmth through the light. Like the light can always give it a quality.
Yeah.
But you can't give it personality. But when you add the fabric, it has emotion. It has a feeling. It has a presence. It has you can walk up to it and see and like feel and like gather like information. You can like understand it, like relate to it, put yourself in its place. Like, I think that's why I like adding and like keeping all these three things together.
Yeah.
Like I worked with them separately in the past. But like bringing them all to the future into the present now and working with them like together is like, it's interesting because like I can see like infinite possibilities when I work, and like I have lots of ideas as I'm making something, I'll get other ideas.
Yeah.
But like then I think about time in the wrong way, and I'm like, man, I don't have enough time to get all this done. But yeah, yeah.
Huh. Okay, so what do then? You mentioned a bit for the yellow. What do those three colors in the center represent?
Oh, the red?
Yeah, what do they mean?
So the red is representing two feelings or interactions or instances. It's the love of Jesus and the fear of Peter. So when they're walking on the water to each other, Jesus is walking, or he's standing, and Peter's walking to him. Peter gets scared by everything that's going on around him. So similar to that, the piece about oppression.
Yeah.
It's that same feeling of like enclosure. But, so he's scared. That red is like a danger zone, like a fear for him in that moment. But on the other hand, with Jesus, like it represents love. Because he reaches out a hand to lift him back up onto the surface. So he's not sinking anymore. Like it's like, with the oppression piece, when you're sinking, all you want is a hand to help you up.
Yeah.
I think everybody's felt like that.
Yeah.
When you're sinking, all you want is a hand to help you up. When you're drowning, all you need is like someone to give you some air. And this is that moment. So like the oppression piece won't have that moment. It has a viewpoint of that moment. It's like you're looking onto it before there's color. Because the path won't have color. It won't have the feeling. But you will still be able to put your feeling into it, but it won't show you the feeling of that moment.
Yeah.
Because we all know what that feels like. So we won't need to like be shown that. But sometimes we do. Like when you haven't experienced that moment. Like with this piece. Not everybody's experienced that. You know? Like it's been offered probably to everyone, you know, but it's like not everybody accepts that like that red. That love. Everybody kind of sits in that fear. In that everything around me is kind of tumbling. Like everything inside of me is tumbling and falling down. But there's also a hand like reaching out. I think that's what this kind of represents for myself and for in a general sense.
Could you tell me a little bit about what these pieces mean to you? These two.
Yeah.
And there's also one more, which I'll put on, which we don't have a picture of, but we're going to grab on the way out. What these three fabric pieces mean?
Yeah, I got you. So I'll start with the one of my dad, actually. So like I was saying earlier, I was making this during the time of COVID. And being surrounded by them, like just with my family the entire time, I kind of was like trying to figure out how to exist in this space.
Yeah.
Because like I had struggled with them for so long. Like we didn't have a good relationship, like at all. Like me and my parents. On the outside, it may look like we did, but like when I got home, I was angry, and confused and upset, and I would just go to my room. Similar to like it wasn't even like a tantrum type of thing. Like it was just like I can't be in this space right now. I gotta go. So being home, I wanted to figure out why I felt this way, what was going on, and the only way you can do that is by looking at what's around you. You know, like who's around you. Like it's not like you contribute to the issue, but you're not the only cause of the issue. So you have to look at everything that's going on. Like you know you're a cause, but I wanted to look at the other causes. So I was looking at my dad. So I was thinking about his stroke. I was thinking about his recovery. I was thinking about his transplants. I was thinking about just like everything that he's gone through before I was born, everything he's gone through since I've been born, since that point of the stroke.
Yeah.
Since like, because it affected my mom too. It's affected everybody in our family. So the fabric in the background is more of like a hospital type of fabric, I think. Like when I look at it and when I feel it.
Yeah, like the pattern.
Yeah. It's like a relaxing, like you should be calm thing. Like but it feels like it's also what's the word for always?
Like
eternal.
Oh yeah.
It's like an eternal falling. I feel like it's this way. It's like a downward motion. And that's kind of how I feel like hospitals are, because I've been in the hospital a lot with him.
Yeah.
With our family. And then we have him, and we put him on top of it. And since I was young, I blacked out faces when I painted. Like I did another piece of my dad back in high school, and I blacked out his face as well and his body, because I feel like at that point in time, I was scared of losing him. I was so scared of losing him. As much as I did not enjoy his presence, I was so scared of losing my dad. Yeah. So I would black out his face so I didn't have to think about painting his face and like looking at that, like seeing, because I see it every day, but I haven't painted it. Yeah. You know, like, that's a different, because you have to think about it. You have to think hard and long and like intensely about this person. So I did his clothes. I did the outside, like how I would think about this, how I would think about an interaction with him. Yeah. You know, so I would put that on top, and then I would lock it in with a border. I've done that in art for a long time. I think that started at Career Center. She had us bordering things. Like she would like make us draw, and then have us take a pencil, whatever, and then make a border around the best part. So I think I kind of brought that forward with this. Yeah. I tried to take a border around the best part, which is like, this is my family. I love him to death, but it's like there's pain all around. Yeah. You know? And similar with my mom. This is a piece about her and my brother Xavier. Yeah. She always wanted to be a mom. She talks about it a lot. And because my dad had a stroke, and I was born before that, she had to go to work while my dad was home. Yeah. She was out of the house working, being a teacher. So she got to be a mom. And then when I was born, she stopped being able to like be a stay-at-home mom who like took care of her kid. And that kind of hurt me a lot growing up, I think, because I grew up with just my dad. Yeah, I'm sure. Who was a quiet dude because of his stroke, you know. So me growing up, I became a quiet man too, you know, like a thoughtful, just paying attention to everything. So I made this piece with my mom to try to like think about, because she blames herself, I think, a ton for everything that goes on. Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to make a piece, just kind of thinking about like, because I was angry too with her. I was angry that a lot of times it felt like she loved her school kids more than she loved us. Like she would do things, I don't know, I think it was a time thing too. Like the amount of time you spend with someone, for me, determines like how much you love them, or it used to. Yeah. So like when she'd go to work, I wouldn't see her till like the end of the day. I'm already tired from school. I barely see her. But she always talked about like, I always wanted to be a mother. And I was just like, yeah, but you've had kids. So, and where were you wanting to be a mother for me? But this helped me to not be as angry with her. Yeah. This helped me to think about like, there are so many things outside of me that cause this happening. I should not be mad at these people for how they responded. Yeah. Because these are things that were necessary before I was here. Just because you get here doesn't mean new things are necessary. It just means that like you have to adjust to what is happening, and you have to like seek peace. You can't just kind of force peace to exist in your surrounding. I think everybody's surrounding will always be a little chaotic unless you run away from everything, which isn't what you're supposed to do. Not healthy. Yeah. But yeah, these pieces for me are kind of like in-depth studies of people, you know, just trying to think and like feel. Yeah. And then with the piece that we'll take a picture out on the way out, that's of Caleb, one of our best friends. Yeah. Shoot. That one's a lot. That was like, so when I moved schools in 4th grade, that was the first time I met him. Yeah. So I moved to the new school in 5th grade. So I don't know. I didn't have any friends. I did not know what was happening. I just knew that I did not want to be at the old school I was at. Yeah. I wanted to be here. And he made it so easy. Like, he made it so easy to just be there, which was, I thank God so much for that. Because, like, knowing what's going on in my house, all that stuff, going to school is not where I wanted to find more hardship.
Yeah, definitely.
And he has no idea how much of a blessing he was. So you too. Like, I think you came at an important time in my life too. Because I was like, when was that?
That was 8th grade, yeah. 8th grade is when I came.
So I was like, right before we go to high school.
Yeah.
I knew it. Because, like, I was doing track. It was just a lot. Like, there's just a lot that was going on.
Yeah.
I just knew that, like, you two coming into my life at those important intervals helped me not to feel alone.
Yeah.
You know, just helped me not to, like, shudder back in when I didn't need to.
Huh.
You know? Because I could have been, like, I could have been by myself. I could have just sat to myself. And I would have probably, because I did that at home.
Yeah.
And I could have seen that infiltrating school. But you guys helped me not to do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I say, like at school, I felt like I was more just there to make people laugh. I didn't, yes, we laughed together, but I didn't feel like we were laughing together because you had to.
Yeah.
Or because I was saying something that was funny. It felt like it because we were friends.
Sorry about that.
No, you're chilling. But, yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. I'm the exact same way. Yeah, there were some good times. I would be grateful that we met. That you hit me with that goofy ass. I know your dad.
Yo, look, I was just saying. I was just speaking back then. Yo, I had no control. But yeah.
Yeah, man, it's good times. So. We don't have a picture to reference it here, sadly. You'll be seeing it. But could you tell me a little bit about Caleb, like how his canvas piece like represents that?
Yeah. So when I first thought of the piece, I was thinking about like how were we in the past and how are we in the present? So in the past, I was like, yo, it is the most cliche thing to think. We were 2 peas in a pod. So like the design really looks like 2 peas in a pod, but it also looks like people like on a golf course somehow, like those mounds and stuff, which he loves golf. Yeah. So it's like, that was kind of cool. And then like the shirt, it looks like golf balls going across his shirt. Yeah. This is just like a really fun piece to make. But at the same time, it kind of like the background fabric kind of looks like pieces that are like slowly coming apart, like drifting, sadly. But I don't think like, I think in that moment in time I was scared because we're like getting older, we don't get to spend much time together. But I think that happens with everyone I know. It's not just him. But in that, I think because he was my best friend, I had a lot more fear for that moment. Yeah, I'm sure. So it came out in the piece. But it's okay, you know. We'll always be friends. Yeah. We'll always be friends.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially because you made that when? Junior year? Yeah. Senior year of college?
Ooh. That was junior.
Not senior year, yeah. That's sophomore, junior, I meant.
That was junior. And that piece, the colors are like, they feel more like my colors, I think. Huh. Like the colors I would use to make a piece of myself, or like some of them. Really calm, really like, I guess in the moment, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like they're not thinking about something else. I think that's how it was when we were hanging out. We were always just kind of like in the moment with each other, which is really fun, I think, to be with a person who's similar to you, who's also trying to be in the moment. Yeah. Where it's like you guys can just experience the moment together, which is, it's hard to do. Like these things are hard to do. Like, because, I don't know, we think about so many things throughout the day, past, present, future. We think about things that we want, things we don't want, things we need, things we don't need. It's nice to just kind of sit. You know, which is a quality of Jesus that I see in him, where it's like he's able to be in the moment when he needs to be, when other people need him to be. Yeah, which is cool. But yeah, that piece, and it's hanging up in the school, which is cool. So people get to see Caleb. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so big. Sadly, we're running out of memory space and time. So Raph, thank you for your time today. Yeah, dude. Everybody if you made it this far, if you listened to a little, if you watched the reels, everything, thank you for your support to me and Raphael. All of Raphael's links are going to be in the description. please support him. He's got a lot going on. Check out his art. Beautiful. It's insane. Please check it out and support him.
Oh, a little plug. I have a show this December on the 4th at CCAD. If y'all want to come.
Columbus people who are into art, if you're in the Ohio area, if you're not, if you're global, travel to Ohio, to Columbus for this.
Ohio's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. All right, so before we say goodbye, do you have, or what would you like to say to our audience today? Any message, anything that you would really just like to get across to them? Any shout out, any message, anything like that? It's your time now.
Yeah. What is the most important thing to me that I think people should think about? I think this world is kind of crazy. So it's important to think freely. Don't ever take for granted that you're able to think freely, but also don't take for granted that, like, not every single one of your thoughts is a true thought or an accurate thought or depiction of what's going on. I think I figured that out not a long time ago, but it's like your mind will tell you a lot of things. So don't always trust it. I barely trust myself. That's why I trust God. That's why I trust Jesus. Because I know that if I had complete reign over my life, I would probably ruin it. You know what I mean? Like, seeing all the bad decisions I make, like even like small things. So I guess what I want to say is, like, Jesus is sufficient. So I would trust in that. Like, everything he did, he paid the price for everyone, so you wouldn't have to. Like, it's a free gift, you know? That's all.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Raph. It was great catching up with you again. And we're definitely going to have to get some more episodes. This one's way, way shorter than I would have liked it to be. We're definitely going to have to catch up more. So, again, links are in the description. Go give Raph a follow. Support everything. He's going to be making new art. Follow up with it. Keep up with him and everything. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell to get notification when new episodes are released or when reels are released, highlights from these. Thank you so much for listening. Please join us next week for the next episode. Have a good one. Peace. Sweet. That's awesome. I love that, man. That was awesome.
That was fun.
That was so cool.
Talking is fun.